It's the privilege of my life for the last 20 years to have worked at Homeboy Industries, but beyond that, a privilege to know John and Eddie, who are accompanying me on this trip to Oxnard. They work in my office. They're kind of new hires. 20 years ago, I was pastor of Dolores Mission Parish, which was the poorest parish in the city of Los Angeles and nestled in the middle of two public housing projects, Pico Gardens and Aliso Village, and together they comprised the largest grouping of public housing west of the Mississippi. We had 8 gangs in those 2 housing projects, half of them at war with the other half. I buried my first kid killed because of this sadness in 1988. I buried my 157th about 3 weeks ago. Not all from that community, of course, but since I work with gang members, I'm sadly asked to perform this task. So we did a lot of things. We started a school. That was the first thing we did for kind of junior high aged kids gang members who had been given the boot from their home school and no one would take them. And then that brought them to the church, and then they started saying, if only we had jobs, and then we tried to find felony-friendly employers, which was a challenge, as I think you can imagine. And so by '92, we were starting our own businesses because we had too many gang members who wanted a job and a way out. So we started Homeboy Bakery in '92. About 2 months later, we started Homeboy Tortillas. And once we had 2 businesses, we called it Homeboy Industries, like some big highfalutin industries, And then we started a bunch of things. Some things weren't that successful. Anything worth doing is worth failing at. And so, we started Homeboy Plumbing. That didn't go over too well. Who knew people didn't want gang members in their homes? I just didn't see that coming at all. And now we have 5 businesses: Homeboy Bakery, Homeboy Silkscreen, Homeboy Homegirl Merchandise, Homeboy Maintenance, and Homegirl Cafe, which has been around now for over 2 years, where women with records, young ladies from rival gangs, waitresses with attitude will gladly take your order. So please come and visit us. And now we're the largest gang rehab intervention program in the U.S. of A. We have 1,000 folks a month who walk through there. There are 1,100 gangs in LA County, 86,000 gang members. I think that number was city, and so we count county because now we serve the whole county of Los Angeles. So 1,100 gangs, 86,000 gang members, and members from nearly 600 of those gangs walk through our doors at Homeboy to receive of our services. We have 4 job developers who try to locate jobs in the private sector. We have huge counseling staff. We just moved from 2 counselors to 8, including a psychiatrist. We have a legal team. We have free tattoo removal, 2 laser machines, 10 doctors, 4,000 treatments are performed a year. They're all volunteer doctors. And we're about to start a school, a charter school, just where somebody's going to operate out of our place. So for those up to 19 can leap in and finish up their high school diplomas. Case management, and that's about all that we do. So anyway, so there's a kind of a common vision that's sort of, what's the aerial view of what we're all about, everybody in this room. There's a vision about trying to imagine Oxnard such that it might look differently than it currently does, or the world looks differently than it currently does. It's about trying to create a community of kinship such that God might actually recognize it. There's a vision, and the prophet Habakkuk writes, "The vision still has its time, presses on to fulfillment, and it will not disappoint. And if it delays, wait for it." My immediate sense of everybody in this room is that nobody wants to wait with your arms crossed and tapping your feet and staring at your watches. You want to make things happen, and good for you. I think in the end, it's always about kinship. If that's your goal, things kind of work themselves out. No kinship, no justice. I don't care how hard you try to focus on justice. If there is no kinship, there won't be any justice. If there is no kinship, there won't be any peace. Kinship is a sense that there is no them. There's only us. Mother Teresa, I think, diagnosed the world's ills absolutely correctly when she suggested That the problem, of course, is that we've just forgotten that we belong to each other. So how do we stand against forgetting that we belong? How do we find ourselves imagining a circle of compassion and then imagining nobody standing outside that circle? And to that end, part of what this center does here is stands out at the very margins with the poor and the powerless and the voiceless, with the easily despised and the readily left out. It chooses to stand with those whose dignity has been denied. You stand right out at the margins and the edges with the demonized so that the demonizing will stop. And you stand with the disposable so that the day will come when we stop throwing people away. You stand out the margins because that's the only way the margins themselves will get erased. No amount of us yelling at the powers that be really does it. It only happens when you stand out at the margins, and then the powers that be will notice. And things change. That's how sinful social structures get toppled, because of where you choose to stand. It's about a vision of kinship. I suspect if kinship was our goal, we would no longer be promoting justice. We would, in fact, be celebrating it.